On this episode of the Ask Mike Reinold Show, we're going to talk about scap work in kids, instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization, and overactive upper trapezius. The Ask Mike Reinold Show. Helping people feel better, move better, and perform better. Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of the Ask Mike Reinold Show. We're here to answer your questions. We're having a bunch. I get the crew at Champion PT and Performance here. Lenny Macrina, Dave Tilley.
Did you forget my name?
The Dave Tilley.
I was kind of waiting for Lenny to say hi, to be honest.
The Dave Tilley.
The Dave Tilley.
Yeah.
Kiefer Lammy in the house. And no other than Sir Nix-a-Lot. I just wanted to get it.
I love that that's stuck. I love that that's stuck.
That was fantastic. Did you come up with that?
Yeah, I'm proud
that
of
was
that.
good. The Nickinator didn't work as well as Gabe, so what's up, Gabe? But no, Sir Nix-a-Lot is here. Going to ask us some good questions here. So, Nick, what do we got, buddy?
All right, Chris from Savannah. He's an athletic trainer, high school athletic trainer. Sometimes he gets a kid with significant lack of scapular control that cannot even begin to do prone Ys. What are some exercises we would recommend for introducing scapular control? Ideally, that can be implemented as part of a home exercise program.
All right, prone Ys, right?
Right, I was going to say, just have them do the pro lines.
So it's funny. So Lenny and I, we just finished up a study here at Champion where we were looking at the strength and range of motion of some of our youth baseball players that we have here. And I will say, we've looked at thousands of people's strength, all the way up to freaking Cy Young winners, right? I was shocked at how weak some of these kids are. So I totally agree that the youth definitely, I don't know if it's that as they're going through growth spurts or what, but they definitely have some weakness of their scap control. I mean, it's pretty common. So I guess I'd say this is pretty common. So don't feel like this
Common,
is
and then I just need to know how you're saying they have poor scapular control, because I think that's still ill-defined and controversial. We see somebody who's at rest, and you see them winging, and then they get up into a throwing position or some kind of functional position, and then that winging magically goes away, and you're like, is it an issue? Is it not an issue? So we got to figure out what exactly good and bad scapular control is. Functionally, we do assess them on a table and do like manual muscle testing, and they're weak on the table manual muscle testing. Well, we put them in a poor position to try to assess that long lever arm position. We're going to dominate them anyway, especially a 13, 14-year-old boy. So I think we need to still define what poor scapular control is. And like we said earlier, joking around, I have them do prone Ys or Ts, and maybe we got to modify the exercise a little, maybe change the position of the lever arm, or change the weight, obviously. But I think we still got to put them in that position and get them to exercise in that position. Yeah. And then, you're not going to hurt them. But I think getting them on a good program is the key, and just getting them to exercise and to realize that they're weak.
I think that's it. I just think you got to do the prone dumbbell exercises.
Yeah.
They just need to develop that strength. I don't think it's anything more rocket science than that. Just perhaps we're loading it too much if they're struggling with it. If they're struggling with it, then they're just not doing it well.
Right.
So, but all right, Nick, what do we got?
All right, Dylan from Oxford, Ohio asked, what is the best way to incorporate IASTM into your rehabs?
Instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization.
I asked him what.
Got him.
What was the question?
What is the best way to incorporate
Instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization
into your rehab?
Should we call that IASTM? I wanted to call it IASTM, but there's an A in there.
Yeah.
He asked him.
I like IASTM. That's kind of got a cool
Instrument assisted.
Yeah, I guess instruments. What's the best way to incorporate it? Well, I mean, we all do it, right? I mean, incorporate it, right? So we talk about this a bunch on.
That's a good answer. Next question.
Yeah, that's it. Just do it. We talk about Urson Religioso and I have our program instrument. It's IASTMtechnique.com where we show you how we integrate it. To us, it's a part of our manual therapy. It's not the only thing we do. It's one of the things we do. And I usually start with it and then get in deeper with my hands. But I usually start with that, maybe reduce some tone or whatever, but kind of start that area with the instrument assisted and then get a little deeper with my hands. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to, I think, in the question, but I would incorporate it that way where I would do it prior to my manual therapy techniques. I usually don't do it in isolation, but what do you think?
I think well said, yeah.
Perfect. All right, Nick, knock it out.
Finally, Will from Virginia said, during the second podcast, Lenny was doing some treatment with one of his patients. Specifically, manual resisted external rotation and forward punches. I was wondering if you and Lenny could possibly discuss and or demonstrate these exercises again.
Right. I remember why I picked this question now, too. The answer is no, because this is a podcast.
Right.
But go to my inner circle, and
There it is.
it's unintentional. But, in all honesty, if you're looking for some detailed techniques on how we do stuff, we got a bunch of DVDs, websites, and products, but not really a good one for the podcast. But, inner circle, we got a bunch of these webinars on these types of things. But, check those things out. I think there's one more on there, Nick. Oh, wow. Nick is...
Oh, we got it. I'm good.
Nick is not prepared.
Jacqueline from Missouri. Any tips for dealing with an overactive upper trap when doing passive or active assisted range of motion with patients post-shoulder injury or surgery?
All right, so shoulder patient, you're doing range of motion, and their upper trap is kicking in. Who wants this one?
Yeah, I mean,
IASTM, prone wise.
yeah, I mean, it's just, we see that a lot post-rotator cuff repair, post-surgery for the shoulder, or even just in general. We see it a lot in weightlifters who are doing powerlifting, a lot of pulling type movements where they recruit the upper traps a lot. And you see the tone in there, and some people say that's a good thing, that the recruiting the upper traps is good. I'm not on that. I'm not in that boat. I think recruiting the upper traps a lot, they get too much tone, leads to headaches potentially. It leads to compensation where they think they're getting overhead where they need to be, and they start recruiting the upper traps. So for me, I'm using instrument assisted. I'm using dry needling. In Massachusetts, we can do that. So a lot of dry needling. People see quick results when I do needling, and I know it's controversial in the Twitter sphere, in the social media world, but to me, needling that upper trap, they get immediate release of the tone, and they can feel it pretty quickly. They can see that they're relaxed and other tensions go away. So, and then adding in exercise for recruiting lower traps, mid traps to offset the...
Yeah, I think balance is the key, right? Being able to have a balance to allow the scap to move pretty well. But soft tissue work is very easy. Bend over, nice and light, top of a softball on the top of your trap. Especially, I see a lot of lifters as well, and they're very jacked up from so much shrugging. So you got to maintain that. You can't let it get too far gone that you have this very dominant trap.
Yeah, and I would say early in my career, I didn't do a lot of hands-on soft tissue. I know Lenny didn't either. You're my student.
We couldn't. Mike wouldn't let me know.
I screwed that up.
It was just so busy, the volume, we just didn't have time.
We didn't do a lot of hands-on work there, but I would say incorporating soft tissue work to things other than the shoulder, like the upper trap during a shoulder injury, is pretty effective. Remember, these people are probably walking around in the shrug position, protecting their arm, self-mobilizing their arm. That's probably the real issue. So we got to get them to do some relaxation things, some deep breaths, maybe some pendulums, do some soft tissue up there, and really to get them to not be in that self-guarded position.
Now, in the post-surgical person who is this and recruiting upper traps, you got to put them in positions where gravity is not pulling their arm down. I like sideline flexion, so they're in the sideline position and they can do this long lever arm movement, but they're not recruiting their upper traps as much. And then I'll even add weight to that position as well, 1 or 2 pound weights in this sideline position. They're like, wow, I can get my arm overhead. Usually that can translate into maybe standing active range of motion over a period of time. If you can get them this motion resisted, you can get them to raise overhead quicker than you think.
Yeah, so it's a little easier without gravity, you're
Correct.
saying, so they're not compensating.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. All right. Well, good episode. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us on another one. Ask us your questions, MikeReinold.com. Click on the link for the podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. So thanks so much for joining us. Boom.